WBCN. Great Talk Radio starts here.
The incoming second wave of the world economic depression, right? We've had November 1929, and now it's getting on towards a year and a half later. It'll be 2 years later. And if we go back to the previous depression, you'll see that the big event after 1929 in November turns out to be September 1931, when the British, the Bank of England, defaulted on gold payment, the bankruptcy, in effect, of the Bank of England, the end of the world, which destroyed the only world monetary system that there was. And right now we're seeing that. Let me just point out about Greece that we mentioned before in our Iceland segment. The people in Greece at least have the reality, the good sense, those Greek trade unionists, to fight the austerity, the shock therapy, the destruction of the social safety net, the looting of education, and all this free market claptrap, a slave ideology that makes people into slaves of the finance oligarchs. And now in the United States, the Tea Party, at least the Tea Party as explained by Dick Armey, Gingrich's sidekick, and by Richard Mellon Scaife, the arch-reactionary, the Tea Party says you've got to demand that IMF shock therapy be visited on your country and the social safety net destroyed. And if you don't go for that, you're not reactionary enough. So now they're even saying that Scott Brown, who is reactionary plenty, is not reactionary enough because he voted for a covering jobs bill just as a kind of political cover for himself. But now let's look at the second wave of the Depression. The Federal Deposit Insurance Corporation has come out with its quarterly banking report. This does not look good. I think an all-time high now in problem banks, or at least a recent year high. And we're told now that the commercial real estate crisis is coming in with a special ferocity. We're now up to $1.5 trillion of commercial real estate leases likely to blow, to go into default, with all of those losses accruing now to the banks. We're told, I think this past week, that in the previous year, 2009, we had something like 1.8 million foreclosures, and the estimate that I heard is that the coming year will see 4.5 million foreclosures. So if you get that together, and if you figure that each foreclosure represents 3 people, if not 4, you're getting into, essentially, you're approaching 20 million internal refugees, displaced persons, victims of this economic depression, and of things that should have been outlawed, like credit default swaps should have been outlawed, adjustable rate mortgages should have been outlawed. And the solution for foreclosures is to stop beating around the bush and ban foreclosures, freeze them for 5 years or the duration of the crisis, whichever lasts longer. Now, the other big thing this week, of course, is Greece all over the place. The modus operandi here is the Soros hedge fund Wolfpack attack. Back in 1992, remember, Soros and a group of hedge funds that followed his lead attacked the European rate mechanism, and in particular, they attacked the British pound. And what was it? That Soros had, in effect, stolen a £5 note, or was it a £10 note, from every man, woman, and child in the British Isles as a result of his shorting of the pound. Now, what you have this time is a concerted action. We know that Goldman Sachs was on the inside selling derivatives to the Greek government. How can you hide debt with derivatives? Because they're off balance sheet. they're not reportable. If Brooksley Bourne had succeeded against Bob Rubin and Greenspan, derivatives on the U.S. side of the equation would have been reportable as of 1998-99. But of course, Greenspan said that was communism. That would interfere with the wonderful genius and magic of the marketplace. So the European Commission went along with that, saying, yeah, you can have derivatives off balance sheet. Don't report them. That is the end. Derivatives have got to be on balance sheet. We want to know where they are because we're going to tax them. We're going to slap a Tobin tax, a Wall Street sales tax, a trading tax, a securities transfer tax, call it a banker's sales tax on them. Goldman Sachs pays no taxes, virtually 1-2%, some trifling sum. And above all, they may pay a little bit of tax on their profits. We want to tax their turnover. If they've got a flash trading, program trading, high-frequency trading apparatus going so they can make thousands of trades per second, great, boys. We want 1% of every one of those trades, and that will take the life out of the booze for Blankfein and the other boys at Goldman Sachs, for Mac and his gang at Morgan Stanley, Diamond at J.P. Morgan Chase, and the rest of these characters. Don't forget Pandit the Bandit at Citibank. Now, the idea was back in the autumn, we saw the dollar going down, down, down. We reached $150 to a euro. We were headed for $155 to a euro. And we were getting to the point where the fires of hyperinflation, I think, were close to kicking in, or at least incipient hyperinflation. So what they've done is to say, let's gang up and beat up Frankfurt and the euro. Let's have a speculative attack, a bear raid on the euro. And the way you do that is sort of what Soros did in 1992, which is attack the weak link. And the weak link at the moment is Greece with a 13% deficit in terms of the percentage of deficit compared to their gross domestic product, a very dubious value in itself. So let's export the dollar depression to Europe by having a speculative attack on Greece and on Spain. And Zapatero has said now, he's screaming bloody murder, that Spain is under concerted speculative attack. It is a bear raid. It is economic warfare, if you will, to relieve the pressure on the dollar, mask the weakness of the dollar by provoking a dramatic fall in the euro. This is the way this system proposes to survive, by essentially a process of self-cannibalization. And I'm afraid this term pigs, right? The pigs, the Portugal, Ireland, Italy, Greece, and Spain. This was invented by the guys in the trading pits, by the Goldman Sachs, J.P. Morgan, Morgan Stanley people. This is unacceptable. Now, what should be done? I see that Bill Engdahl seems to suggest that a bailout for Greece, led by Germany, would be a good thing, that the treaty bans it, but that there's a way to do it. I don't think that's the way to go at all. He does admit that it's obviously better to keep the IMF out, and we'll go through one or two other possible solutions for Greece in just a minute, back on World Crisis Radio.